Welcome to the MarTech Matrix, the podcast that cogently uncovers the business problems each tech company was built to solve. Today, Sean speaks with Guy Alif, the co-founder of Intellimize, an AI-driven optimization, A/B testing, and rules-based personalization platform. They will be discussing their acquisition by Webflow and how AI can make A/B testing web page experiences better. After the show, head on over to the martechmatrix.com for show notes, contact information, and details on upcoming episodes. Now, get ready to enter the Matrix.
Guy, welcome into the Matrix. How are you today?
Thanks, Sean. Great to be here.
Good. We're glad to have you here. So I have to first ask about the acquisition, and this is a fairly new thing. Can you tell us what this means for Intellimize and the future of it, the product?
It means great things for Intellimize and Intellimize's existing and future customers. The strategic fit between Webflow and Intellimize, fortunately, is amazing. There are great new use cases we can go create and implement that will delight our customers that are harder to do when you're not integrated like that. At the same time, we will continue to sell Intellimize. At some point, it'll be renamed Webflow something, but that will continue to be sold standalone in perpetuity, or at least as long as we can imagine things at the moment. And so there's no change for existing customers in the product or future ones. This also allows us to invest more and continue innovating as we have been. And my confidence in that is high because, candidly, the cultural fit was amazing. I mean, really good. Those were the two big beliefs we had. The product fit, fortunately, both sets of customers iterated in spades the day we announced it. The cultural fit, in the month or so since, both teams have been working almost like you couldn't tell they were in two different companies 4 weeks ago, which is really great.
Well, that's good, because that's the hardest part, right? I mean, you and I both worked at Yahoo back at a time when Yahoo was making acquisitions, and I was one. And it didn't go so well. I don't think any of the acquisitions around that time went well. It was just tough to integrate people, right? Different cultures, and the bigger the company, the more difficult it is. So I'm glad to hear it's working out, and hopefully it continues to work out for you and everyone else in the team.
I've had a similar experience being acquired back into Yahoo, my second rodeo there.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad this one's better. So let's talk about the product. Since not much is going to change, Webflow will continue to invest. The product will continue to improve. But let's start with A/B testing as a platform, right? There's multiple components to Intellimize: A/B testing, personalization. Talk to us about the products. Let's start with A/B testing and tell us what makes those products unique at Intellimize compared to other A/B testing platforms in the market.
So, Intellimize makes A/B testing turnkey simple. If you are a marketer who is time-starved, is now doing the job of several other people, you probably have growth or demand gen or conversion rate optimization in your title. Like, you've got a number on your head. You're thinking every day, how do I go drive more revenue, more pipeline, more customers? Those ideas that you're thinking about to move people through your funnel, we can help you make more money out of them. And so our A/B testing makes it really simple for you to enter your website and then visually drag and drop and move things around to bring to life the idea you have anywhere on your site, be it a landing page, a PDP, the home page, checkout, form fill out, whatever it might be. And then go see, have your customers and prospects tell you, did that idea work? If then it takes a long time to reach statistical significance, you can press a button and turn on AI Optimize, which will then help you learn more quickly. And it'll use context from a bunch of turnkey simple integrations like Google Ads, Shopify, Google Analytics. If you're in B2B land, 6sense, Demandbase, Rollwork, Salesforce, HubSpot, Marketo, Clearbit, Mixpanel, Segment, and a whole bunch more. And if you decide, you want to start using rules, we offer personalization with rules. We offer account-based marketing on the web, landing page optimization, and Gen AI to go create net new content.
Yeah, so what I love about that is as a business owner myself, you have an idea, to be able to just wake up in the morning and go test it rather than put it into a roadmap and talk it over with a bunch of people and figure out how you're going to implement it and when and where. You literally can just wake up and go, I want to see what happens if I change this. It's that simple, right? And anybody can do it, not just a developer. I could do it.
And that is very much the intent, to take folks that, didn't go to school to code, but do need to make coding changes on a website to go test that idea. Or, your CEO walks in and says, hey, I want you to try this thing. It's no longer what was the term? Hippo, highest paid opinion in the room, or person in the, something like that. The data can speak for itself. And so, yes, you can do that one today, two tomorrow, turn another one off the next day, and let your prospects tell you.
For the longest time, I thought my kids were going to be coders. And now I'm really worried, because the last couple of years, so at least the last year especially, I'm not so sure that you need to be a coder. I mean, I'm sure there's work to be had, but you don't need to be a coder to do a lot of this work. So hopefully they'll find some use for their skills. Talk to us about like the personalization component, and feel free to work in like examples of how people use it. But it's one thing for I'm thinking in terms of e-commerce websites to come in and go, I wonder what happens if I change the background, or if I move the buy now button, or if I do this or that. But what about the personalization components of it? Like, how does someone change that on a regular basis to test it? Meaning, if I have an idea and I want to implement it, right? But I want it to be different for different people. How do I do that without having coding experience?
Two different approaches you can take. The experience is very much like doing an A/B test. You say what page or pages you're going to optimize or personalize. You drag and drop and move things around. You can use all the contextual data we were talking about. That's the mechanics of it. Behind that, then you have a choice. You can say, hey, I want to use a rule. Meaning, an example, somebody saw this ad. I want them to see that ad on the website. Somebody saw the black shirt messaging. I want them to see the black shirt when they land on the homepage. Somebody saw the value messaging, the innovation messaging, the eco-friendly messaging. Let that continue from the ad. And there you want a rule, right? You just, if this, then that. You might say in New York, I want to show cold weather stuff, and in Florida, warm weather stuff. The other approach you can take is to use machine learning. And I don't mean the Gen AI that everybody's talking about now. I mean proprietary predictive machine learning that we've been building for the last 8.5 years to go personalize literally down to the individual. We use machine learning to say, oh, hey, there are more segments we're optimizing for than there are people on Earth, literally. And so that, Sean, you show up at acme.com, you see one set of things personalized for you. I show up at acme.com, I might see another set of things optimized for me, both of which are designed to get us to add more to cart, go buy more, so that I, the merchant or the demand gen growth person, can go meet each customer or prospect where they are in their journey. And in fact, I can imagine a homepage that's as personalized as any dedicated category page or PDP page that I'm using as an ad landing page.
So it's interesting. Let's talk about that word personalization in that example, because it gets used a lot, right? And I love the example you use, and I'm going to get a list of all the retailers that work with you that make sure that the landing page aligns with the ad that I clicked on, because that drives me insane. I click on a product and then it's the homepage, right? And it doesn't even have the product on it. But in my mind, and tell me what you think, there's a difference between personalization, meaning I am a man, I live in the state of Oregon, I like sports cars, baseball, and barbecue, right? And I came from this website and I clicked on that ad, and now I'm here. To me, that's just sort of relevancy, not personalization in my mind. Now, is that just me, or is that how you think about it, or what's the difference in your world?
To your point, I think people use that word to mean many, many different things. In my humble opinion, personalization should correlate directly with relevancy, right? If it's more personalized, it should be more relevant. And it's basically when you're not treating everyone the same. Or like A/B testing is wonderful. because it's not intuition-driven marketing. Great. However, you are treating everyone the same, right? You find the global winner, you bake it into the website, you've improved the experience, but you've optimized for the common denominator. It's like saying every person in the US has to wear size 10 shoes. Because if you ran an infinite number of A/B tests, that'd be the winner. That's like the average shoe size in America.
Wow.
It's insane when you're talking about shoes. So if you get to personalize, you can then say, oh, fine, I wear size 10 and a half. I'm going to make up that you wear a size 12. We each get our own shoe. That's personalizing. If you use machine learning, the AI optimized that we've been building, not only do you personalize it down to the individual. So you get size 12, I get 10 and a half, but I get, what am I wearing now? Some black sneaker. I'm going to pretend you're wearing some blue sneaker. Great. We each get the style we want. Additionally, as our tastes change, as we grow from like little kids to adults and the size of our foot changes, it'll dynamically update over time, which is kind of the dirty little secret of A/B testing, right? You run a test and something changes. You run a promo, you run an ad, you change your messaging, you decide to highlight another category. You don't know if the winner from that A/B test is still actually the winner anymore. You just don't. And most people don't rerun their A/B tests. Machine learning can help there.
For the record, I'm a size 10, so now I feel bad. I'm just average. So kind of ruin my Friday. I need to go hit happy hour now. Okay, that is helpful. I have one quick question, and then we'll move on. I'm going to use the example you used. How would a shoe retailer know if I'm a 10 and you're a 10 and a half? Is that something that I'd have to have been to the site previously and they knew that already? Or is there some other way that they're getting this information? So it's more of a learning process for the platform?
It is more of a learning process. It's funny because I think the shoe example is so intuitive, but literally knowing what shoe size you are. However, if you showed up at a site from, I'm going to make it up. You show up at acme.com because you were on Pick Some High-End magazine and you clicked on a digital ad there. We could assume, you're probably willing to pay a little bit more money. If I show up at acme.com and I immediately sort by price, we could remember that and then assume I'm probably a little more price sensitive. So you can use the context you have. Where did somebody come from? What's the content of the ad they clicked on? Where did they go in the site? Our made-up name for that is on-site behavioral retargeting. We make it really easy for somebody to say, they went to the men's shirts category 4 times in the last 10 days. You get to pick those numbers. Okay, that's my definition of they're probably interested in men's shirts. I'm going to show that on the homepage the next time they show up. Or you can use, your Shopify data. What did they buy in the past? Or you can use, other behaviors and other contexts that you have. Maybe you have them sitting in Salesforce because you're a larger retailer. You can use all of those to then go deliver the right experience to each person. Even though I'm guessing, actually, shoe size you could get off of previous shopping data.
Yeah. I wonder if there was any kind of, I don't know if you guys do this, but if you had like a data co-op, right, amongst brands, maybe brands that were not competitive, maybe they are, just mask the brand, then you have this data about me, right? About the user. Right? It's really hard with all the privacy stuff going on, but it'd be interesting to do that.
It's interesting to hear you say that because it was one of the ideas we had right at the beginning of the company. We thought at some point, with enough scale, we could offer double opt-in for folks. So acme.com and beta.com both say, hey, I want to share data, never PII, but basically, a random ID. And so if you went to acme.com and then you show up at beta.com, we'll be able to do a better than I've never seen you before job of personalizing for you because of that. But everybody would need to opt in. We always thought that'd be a double opt-in. We have never done any of the, like you and I have spent a long, long time in ads. We never did any of the cross-site cookie pool matching, any of that. But I think that's a future place you could go.
I do. I think that brands are more open to it today, especially with all of the challenges they're facing with cookies going away and losing that visibility, that they're more open to sharing anonymously behavioral data than they were 10 years ago. When we were at Criteo, we had the same conversation, like how do we do a double opt-in, bring data together? There was no appetite for it. But now I think that has changed.
That's interesting. The only other data point I have is Flurry. Yahoo bought Flurry and they said they did the same thing and everyone opted in. And I thought, wouldn't the large fries absolutely stay away from this like a third rail? And they said, no, they realized they were the ones who would get the most out of it, even though their competitors were doing it. I was pleasantly surprised. And so we thought, oh, we should probably go do that. Very interesting to hear that it didn't pan out at Criteo, that the demand wasn't there.
Well, it didn't back then, but that was, I haven't been there in 8 years. So I think they've had more success with that. I don't know how much they're using it, but I know just generally in the market, I feel like that's people or brands are more open-minded to that. So you told us a lot already. We dove right into the product and all the different things that Intellimize does. Let's back up to when you started the company. Take us through the mindset. What was the problem you were trying to solve for? What triggered the idea for Intellimize that led you down this awesome journey?
It was being the customer, actually. I started off as an aerospace engineer, thought I was going to spend the rest of my life designing airplanes and loved the idea. Then was a product guy for a decade, then was a marketer for about a decade. And my last job, I had the privilege of leading marketing at a programmatic advertising company, had a marketing team of like 30, 35, a low 8-figure budget. And we optimized that ad spend to the nines. I mean, shame on us if we're a programmatic advertising company that didn't do that well. Okay, so we're showing the right message to the right person at the right time in all of our ads. They get to our website, we forget all of it, and we treat everyone the same. So I asked my team 3 different times, hey, can you please go try A/B testing? They never did. They weren't being like insubordinate or anything. They just thought, hey, there's more juice to be squeezed here or there or there. And it didn't make sense to me. I was like, we spend 99% of our money, 99% of our energy trying to do one-to-one marketing and ads. But then the place where the money's actually made or the pipeline's actually generated, we don't. And so went and looked at the solutions that were out there and thought, with an ad metaphor, this is like an insertion order, right? I'm like, I just want to buy this real estate right here. I want to show this same thing to everyone all the time. And thought, well, there's a better way, right? There's a reason 90% of display ad dollars went to programmatic advertising, because you personalize down to the individual. You show the good creatives more, you show the bad creatives less, and you optimize for a goal I, the marketer, chose. Nobody had done that on the website itself. No one had. My 2 co-founders I've known for 20 years, they had the background to do this. They ran a several hundred person ML team that used ML to personalize the Yahoo homepage for more than half a decade, back when it was the most popular page on the internet. And then they created the Yahoo content recommendation system used on and off Yahoo. And we thought, these are the right backgrounds to go try going after this. And so we talked to, without exaggeration, more than 100 marketers to see, is there a there? And saw, that this is a real problem. People are willing to pay for this with enough conviction that we left our secure, high-paying jobs and tried this.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it's true. Like there's such a personalization. We spent all these years focusing on ads, but not focusing on the downstream flow of the user and what that alignment looked like. Not just the personalization, but alignment to the ad that got them there, the expectation that was created when you get them in the door. It's almost like it was a bait and switch, right? It was like you got me in the store with this ad, but then you don't have it in the store. It was like, what was it? Like grocery stores would do this. So they'd have this sale, but they'd have a limited number, right? And you go in and they give you a rain check. But car dealers would do the same thing. And then now they make it more clear on the ads, limited models of this whatever design or makeup or features, because they want to get you in on that low cost model, and then they're going to try and sell you that more expensive one, and that's just really frustrating for consumers. So I think the experience is going to be much better. So is this how did you get from there to the personalization component? Like I get the connection. Like, okay, user sees an ad, the black t-shirt, they click and they land on a black t-shirt. Major improvement. Then how did you get to the sort of one-to-one personalization aspect of it? It seems like that would be a massive undertaking. Is that where the aerospace engineering comes in, or was that something that your partners had learned from the Yahoo days as well?
More the latter than the former. In some sense, programmatic advertising is doing something similar, where it will take every bit of context it has to figure out what to show someone. Notionally, although the underlying math and algorithms are very different, we were doing the same thing on websites. And so we built this approach, this predictive AI that would say, minute one, I know nothing. So fine. If I have five headlines, 5 images, 5 calls to action, it's like running a multivariate test, right? All 125 possible combinations, 5 times 5 times 5. We give them equal traffic. But a few minutes later, we've seen what works, where what works is defined by me, the marketer. I get to define the one or multiple actions that are important to me on that page. And obviously later on, like revenue, right? What's downstream, business-wide important. And I can then not show all those things equally. And over time, minute by minute, hour by hour, I can both progressively profile, just with on-site behavior, each person, and progressively do a better job of predicting what to show each person so that we are more likely to get the outcomes we want and less likely to get the outcomes we don't. And it turns out that's a really hard science problem, especially when you don't have a lot of traffic. If we wanted to dive into the ML, like there are a whole bunch of classic problems that you need to solve in ML that my co-founders were able to solve together. And the net result for the marketer is not all the details of the ML, but rather same humans, same creativity, same hours, make more money because you're showing the right thing to each person, right? Like when you do the A/B test, you've got a winning idea, you show it to everybody. Awesome. However, the losing idea was the best thing to show someone, some portion of the population. Winner take all is, it's logically suboptimal, right? You're giving someone a less good experience because you're optimizing for the global average. So yeah, long-winded way of saying, yeah, it's the ML.
Yeah, no, we definitely I've seen this at different companies I've worked at where on an A/B test, the one that had the least amount of impressions had the better conversion rate only after it was throttled back. But when it was at the same speed as the other element, it didn't compete. Like it was getting crushed because it was being shown to the wrong people and dragging down the performance. So it's a matter of showing the right pages and ads to the right people in the right context.
To your point, often customers will say, or prospects will say, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to create like 5 trillion pieces of content. And it's exactly what you said, Sean. It's that you don't have to create new content. Just show the content you already have to each person at the right time, right? You've got all this stuff sitting there. If you surface that to each person rather than having them navigate their way to it, or, okay, they do a little navigation, but then you remember that and act on it, you don't have to go create a ton of new content to deliver much more relevant experiences and engage people where they are.
I mean, you really don't have to create any, right? Because if you have all the elements, right? You have all the products, so that's easy. And then it's just a matter of the messaging, right? Have like your different messages, 5 different headlines, 5 different body copies, whatever it might be. And then it's a matter of just mixing and matching based on who the user is and having all the rules to say, if it's this user, they get this. So it's more the rules that take time and thought than it is the elements, right? But once you have the elements, it's a matter of how do you match them up. That's what I would think. But
I think you're spot on. No, I think you're spot on. And it's interesting you said the rules because we find the evolution often is like, I'll start with A/B testing. And if I can only have one winner, like I'm going to be on Shopify or BigCommerce, I'm making that one up. Okay, I'm only going to be on one. Fine, you need an A/B test. You're going to pick one. But if I do the A/B test, then I want to go, it's good, but I want to make more money. So then I start personalizing and I do rules, just what you said. Oh, I'll show New York cold weather stuff. I'll show people who saw this Google ad, that thing. Awesome. It's higher performing. Us mere mortal marketers, we tend to top out at a few tens of those rules, and then it just becomes unmanageable. If you need a rule, like only these people who saw this ad can see that discount, fine, you absolutely should use that. But for the other stuff, ML is really great at then figuring out the right thing to show each individual person, and you just simply make more money out of it. Using whatever context and history you have from them. And so it's as if you created a rule per person every few minutes.
So is the ML kind of like AI where you're telling it, hey, optimize, and maybe we can talk about your AI product as well, but is it more about like optimize the page content to drive the most efficient or highest volume conversions as possible? Like, how much information do you need to tell it? I mean, you have to tell it something, right? It's not magic. It has to know what you want. How does
You're
that work?
exactly right. And to be explicit, I'm using ML and AI interchangeably. If we wanted to get specific about it, like I think one is underneath the other, but I think common lexicon people use them interchangeably. And so the ML or the AI is
Yeah,
doing all it needs is what you said. What do I, the marketer, care about? And frankly, by default, you don't have to tell it anything. It'll look for engagement and revenue, right? Like it'll by default look for those
that's rich.
things and then optimize for them and take the creative you're giving it and figure out which ones are more performant.
Interesting. So is it possible? Is it reasonable, I should say? Is it reasonable for an e-commerce brand or retailer to expect to have the ability to personalize every user's experience on every page of the website? Meaning 10,000 people go to a website in a day and they visit 5 pages each. Every one of them is going to have a customized or unique flow or composition of the page to some degree. Is that feasible today?
Very much so, without a lot of effort. And by that, I mean, if I, the merchant or the marketer, had ideas on what I wanted to change on the homepage, what I wanted to change in general on category pages, like, do I want to be image forward, price forward, 5 across, 3 across on the PDP? Do I want to present the images this way, or do I want to give more detail, or do I want to highlight free shipping if you add X more dollars? I can go try all of those, and the machine learning will then go figure out what's the right combination of those to show each person. And so to the earlier discussion, it's not new content. To your question just now, it's not just a landing PDP page. You can use it throughout the whole experience. And the net result is you're meeting each person where they are. Mm-hmm. And even if I've never seen you before, ever, I've seen people who share some attributes with you. Earlier, you were saying, hey, I'm a man in the Pacific Northwest. You said a couple of other things. I'll pretend, you've got those blue shoes. I've seen people, they might be men. They might be in the Pacific Northwest. They might have blue shoes. We actually don't know you're a man and blue shoes, but let's pretend that was knowable. Then I can say, okay, I can do a better than random job of choosing what to show you. So you increase AOV or you convert more, right? You buy more often.
So it's really the best experience possible for what you know about the user. And I totally agree with you. It's better than anything else. It's the best possible version of yourself, so to speak, if you're the website.
Based on everything you said it exactly right. And as you know more, it'll be even more performant. And as the world changes, it'll adjust. We had a customer that ran a huge promo. It was one of their company's birthdays. They tripled their traffic overnight. Turns out the extra 200% did not behave the same way the original 100% behaved. They behaved differently. And so we watched like 4 hours later, which was like 2 a.m. Nobody was actually watching this at the time. Like they had 2 variations showing. It shifted automatically. And then over the course of the next, like which one was shown more often? And over the course of the next couple of days, when the effect of the promo decayed, behavior reverted and it shifted back. No one could run an A/B test during that time. But AI, machine learning can help you do that.
So what are brands doing? I want to dive into this. What are brands doing today if they're not working with a solution like Intellimize? How are they literally doing some kind of A/B test, making decisions, picking a winner? I mean, that takes time, and by the time they make the decision, it could be outdated, right? So then they're like, or they maybe even if they're running an A/B test, they pick a winner and throw another B in there, and then test that one against the winner. Like they're constantly behind if they're not doing something in real time because people's behaviors change, based on all kinds of things, like the weather, like whatever's going on in the world. I guess it just depends on the product, but is that what they're doing? I mean, is there just A/B testing and then picking a winner and A/B testing again and picking a winner and always behind the 8 ball?
Yes is the direct answer. And in some sense, like awesome, because that's so much better than just using your intuition, right? You are being data driven. To your point about it takes a while. Most people don't have enough traffic to reach statistical significance to pick a winner quickly. And The reality is 70 to 90% of ideas fail on average. Literally, you look global average, you look at a whole bunch of studies. Yeah, 1 out of 10 to 3 out of 10 ideas are an improvement. And so it really can take a while. And depending on the type of business, things are changing all the time, right? You get some of these fast turn businesses or some of these promo heavy businesses. What works today might literally not work tomorrow versus a month from now or 3 months from now.
So what's the biggest objection, or maybe it's not an objection. I guess I can't imagine you talk to a brand about Intellimize and they go, this is dumb. I'm not going to do this. The objection must be lack of understanding, and they come up with an excuse. Like, why would a brand not want a solution like this? It seems like obviously it moves faster. You're going to drive more sales at the end of the day, but it's also taking less resources to execute. So what's the objection that brands have? Because I know this does not exist on every brand, retailer, website in some form, because I have miserable experiences all the time.
Can I take your thought process and transplant that into every brand in the world right now? That'd be
absolutely
awesome.
Absolutely.
When we started, I thought we were looking at the early days of paid search. Like, you remember in, I don't know, 04, 05, maybe you have paid search on your marketing team. Roll the clock forward 10, 15 years. There's no question you do, right? You wouldn't possibly start a business without using almost any business without using paid search. I thought this sort of conversion rate optimization would be the same. And I still believe it is. It hasn't moved as quickly as paid search. And so, yes, you are. Why do people object? At least last year, a lot of the objections were we just laid off half the team. Like, we have no budget. People are doing 4 people's jobs, and we need to physically ship products, or our CRM is going down. Otherwise, people will say, like, the AI optimized, they'll say, that sounds advanced. We're not ready to graduate to that. And we would humbly say back to them, it's actually simpler, because you don't need to know stats. You don't need to pick algorithms. You don't need to code. Like, most of us marketers didn't go to school to do those 3 things. And you get to reuse all of your existing marketing investments, right? You integrate with and reuse all the data you paid so much to get and spent a lot of time and money to get. You get to reuse those. And so we humbly believe, unless there can only be one winner, in which case A/B testing is better, or someone must see something, like somebody saw a promo in an ad and has got to see that, this delivers better results. And that's the thought leadership and discussion for us to put out there in the market.
You made it sound very nice. You were very nice to the people that had objections. But I think, you said the phrase earlier, the tuition of the marketer, right? I think there is some belief that they know better, right? For some people, and so they don't want the AI to decide. They think they know their customer better, they know their product better. We just need to get them past that. But to the objection of we're short, we cut half our work staff. We need to drive more sales. Like, this is the way to do it. You can do more with less, drive more sales, because it's going to speak to the consumer the right way. It's a funny environment that we play in. That is for sure. So you may have answered this question already, but I'm gonna have you put it in context. So on the website, on the Intellimize website, it mentions that brands can see results 25 times faster than conventional methods. So talk to us about, are those conventional methods A/B testing? Is it doing nothing at all? What are you comparing Intellimize to get to that kind of 25x faster number?
I'll respond directly in 1 second, taking a half step back to you saying I was being kind to other folks. I believe another aspect of it is, like, a bunch of us in this space have made careers on, I find winners. Like, the career progression is literally, I ran a test, I found a winner, it produced this much lift. I did a good job. And advertising that internally. And that's a lot of heavy work to get an organization to go from intuition, just like you were talking about, to doing this data-driven approach, thinking about experimentation a lot. That's a lot of change management, separate from the tech. The tech is easy in that regard. And so I think part of it is that, where if you do this machine learning approach, you can still find winners, but there's some mindset shifts that are involved. So it's another set of shifting there. To directly answer your question, we were comparing it to A/B testing. We were comparing it to how many ideas were people able to test at once and find winners on. By the way, they were making more money compared to if they had done things on A/B testing or multivariate testing, and the average was 25x faster, which if you were only saying your job is to find winners, that would already be a big thing. We believe people that are doing testing and personalization and all these things, they're often separate budgets, separate teams, separate strategies. They're all in service of making more money. So is finding winners. That's the ultimate goal. And if you want to maximize conversions, this AI, ML driven approach is better.
Maybe the CFO should be making all the marketing decisions. I know I should be careful what I ask for, but if they're in the age we live in now, where we have so much technology at our disposal, everything is about efficiency and cost savings, and the balance between spend and revenue. And the CFO sees it that way. I'm not so sure the marketer always does. For all the reasons you just explained. I mean, at the end of the day, they think they do, but they're just the path they take to get there is a little bit longer.
Yes, and most of the time we would talk to marketers about making more money, more revenue. Last year, we talked to them about increased efficiency. We talked to them about improved ROAS, return on ad spend, or leave no ad dollar behind. Because to your point, you can do more with less, right? If half the team was just let go, this is something unlike an A/B test where you can, if you want to, fire, forget it for a little while, come back when you have time. It does make you more efficient. And at the same time, there's a bit of, you need mental space to be able to think about doing it differently. And that often was an impediment while somebody was just firefighting, doing multiple people's jobs.
I bet. So let's talk about, you touched on a little bit in the very beginning of the conversation around Intellimize is going to continue down the path that they are on, even under the new company. But what specifically is on the roadmap that addresses what we talked about today? Like, how do we tell us what's on the roadmap? Maybe short term, midterm that you are able to talk about that maybe will make it easier for a marketer to say yes, let's just do this.
I am so excited about what combining with Webflow allows us to do. So one of the things we have seen as a real impediment for people trying to optimize their websites is a bunch of approvals, in particular from brand teams, design teams, who their scary story, the brand scary story is you demand gen people are going to destroy the user experience. You're going to only use numbers and you're going to test piece by piece. And it's basically going to be Frankenstein. It's going to be a terrible experience. And the demand gen and growth folks are like, you brand people are slowing me down. I can't, this is supposed to be fast iteration and I don't have permission to do anything. When we were standalone, we would humbly suggest to the growth and demand gen folks, just get a sandbox, get some rules from the brand folks. Say, hey, here's the sandbox. If you promise to play within this, you can go as fast as you want. With Webflow, we can actually bring that to life. We can help marketers create on-brand websites that deliver business results. No one else can do that. That is such the unlock where as a CMO, I get to have confidence that you've got these pixel perfect sites that are being created by designers, by my agency, and my growth and demand gen folks can go to town. They're never going to go off brand because they can't, because there's a design system there that you operate within. I'm super excited about that and the unlock it may create for people. And they're able to do so without bug and engineering. If engineering wants to be involved, that's easy for them to do, but that's one of the bigger things that's on our radar. Along those lines, we'll continue to march down the path of making things turnkey simple. We'll think about the use cases for our customers and say, what does it take end to end to make things turnkey simple? All those integrations I mentioned before, we didn't integrate with them because we wanted a long list of logos there. We integrated with them because if I want to do better personalization based on what somebody bought before, I need Shopify. If I want to continue that ad, I either need UTM parameters or Google Ads integration, and on and on and on. Those are two big strategies we will continue pursuing while investing. And
Excellent.
we will, of course, continue investing in the ML. That's like a never-ending, very interesting and happy road, and really interesting science problem for very, very smart people, smarter than me, to go solve.
Will I be able to go in the chat GPT and be like, or a version of that on the Intellimize website and say, build me a website that sells the most amount of shoes to men 18 to 24 in the Pacific Northwest? That would be cool.
We are very much headed in that direction. While it might not literally be that, you see a lot of optimization tools and, content management systems like Webflow, making that easier, literally with a chat-like interface. Watch this space.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. So I half joked earlier about CFOs making the decisions, but in your business, who's your ideal customer? Like, what person in the organization? I mean, I imagine that there's people that you sell to, and then there's people that use the product, and then they often are different. But who is your ideal customer in an organization? But also, what types of organizations?
The typical buyer, like the economic buyer, is often the CMO, the VP of demand gen, the VP of growth, because a high converting website's a CMO level issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
They more and more often have a number on their head. We get more and more quantitative CMOs. Sometimes it's an agency doing that on behalf of other customers. The ideal customer, self-serve all the way up to enterprise. In particular, we've seen a lot of folks sort of mid-market, lower enterprise, having a team that's big enough that there's somebody who's solely focused on this. More in self-serve, that might be the owner, right? We've had some e-commerce sites where it's, 3 people running a $20 million business, and then it's the owner doing this directly. Mid-market, you'll get somebody, running a couple $100 million, business. And there's somebody who gets up every day thinking about how do I drive more conversions. Other people that'll be involved, IT wants to make sure the site's going to, not break and do well, which fortunately that goes smoothly. And then every once in a while, folks will want to make sure the data flows are doing the right thing, and they are, and we're GDPR, CCPA, SOC 2 Type 2 certified. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it totally does. But so, given that you have, and I imagine it's different for every company, right? Because you might go in at any one of those areas of a company and get a champion and go up or down. But let's say you're in a company, you've got buy-in up and down the organization. How are you measuring success? Now, I don't mean like you're increasing their revenue and you're generating more conversions, but like, how do you, because the goals are beyond revenue, right? How do you measure success in the relationship that you have with the brand?
3 parts to the answer. 1, to your point, the customer literally defines success. They actually define these behaviors, whether they're online or offline, and then they send conversion signals back. Which one of these defines success? To your point, a meta level up. As a business, I set our measure of success. It's not revenue. It's not fundraising. It's not being purchased. It's customers getting up on stage and saying nice things about us because we help make them heroes. Honestly, like we'd have the privilege of having incredibly smart people give us money for another round of fundraising. I would say, this is great. Feel good about this. But that's not the measure of success. The measure of success is more people getting up on stage and saying nice things, because everything else flows from that. And for the larger Webflow, it's creating these on-brand websites that deliver business results and delighting customers with that. I cannot wait to bring that to life.
Good answer. How does somebody get started? Like, where is the best? Is there a part of the organization that's key? How easy is it for a brand to get started? We talked earlier about the objections, and they might not be real objections. I mean, there are objections, but they're not facts. How does someone get started all the way through scale with your support?
In terms of buy-in to go start a project, it is often, hey, I will be better able to do my job. I'll be able to do more with less, or I'll be able to drive more revenue. The I in that case is often somebody with a number on their head, somebody who feels that pressure every day to go generate more revenue, to increase AOV, to go get more customers. Once they decide to go, it's literally a line of code. And I say this as a guy who's a marketer and is used to every MarTech vendor lying all the time. It literally is a line of code. Webflow had a retreat last week, and I shot a short video and we showed it to the whole company, where we went from a newly provisioned, never been touched before Intellimize account to being live on webflow.com with things running in under 2 minutes. That's not crazy. And I didn't have to write a line of code to do it. Okay, once you do that and you're live, then idea generation, that's like you do today. In fact, you can do it even faster if you want. The longer scale adoption, there's some mindset shifts where you can start and stop tests anytime. That's really different from somebody who's used to like running an A/B test, waiting for a winner, running the next one. Another second mindset shift is, if you want to stay resilient to the world changing, to running promos, to your competitors doing something, you actually don't need to turn off a test at the end. You can keep it running, because what was a winner now may not be a winner later. And that notion of like, wait a minute, I found a winner, but I'm not turning off this thing, that's different. And the third mindset shift is, gosh, if I was running A/B tests before, chances are there were a lot of ideas, and I spent a lot of time on prioritization. Which one should go? What's the cost benefit? I don't have to do that anymore. In fact, waiting to reach statistical significance is no longer the bottleneck. I am. My ideas, because I can go try all of them in parallel. So implementation is trivial. To get to scale and have the highly efficient machine running, that takes a bit longer.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, or I wonder if having a best practices, in other words, and I don't mean like step by step, but I mean, you had said something a minute ago around once it's implemented and up and running, you need to have these conversations internally about what it is you want to test, right? What do we want that that user flow to be? It sounds like that actually needs to get integrated into your daily routine, because it isn't just let's just test these two things and then come back to it in 30 days or whatever and see what the data looks like. It is iterating all the time. And so you need to be looking at the data. You need to be talking about what's happening, figure out where you can add improvements, because it isn't something that you should turn off, right? Especially on the user flow. A brand might say, okay, we want to test, this black shirt versus that black shirt based on the ad with the black shirt. But ultimately, we're going to show a black shirt. So that's not changing. So that user flows, that personalization piece isn't going to change. The A/B test in each part of that flow might change. So it just sounds like what I was getting at is it's more of a shift in the way you think about website optimization and how you manage it. That never stops.
Totally with you. And if somebody was doing a lot of A/B testing before, they were thinking about that same thing, always iterating, always another one. To ease things, we also built in playbooks directly into the product where we'll show you, like, here are a bunch of ideas to improve your landing page, your home page, your PDP page. And then you click and you go into the product and are able to implement that right there. The product also will give you feedback on what's working. Like, if an idea sucked, you can then go, which is fine, right? As we said, 70 to 90% of them do. You made progress by learning that. Okay. You can then have your next set of ideas focus somewhere else. If an idea crushed it, you can go iterate on that idea. And finally, there are analytics where you can slice and dice the results easily. Just one click by literally any dimension we can see. Oh, they're a heavy user. Oh, they bought this before. Oh, they live in this state. They looked at this product often. And you can then glean insights from that on where to take your ideation and that kind of energy going forward.
Yeah, fail fast, right? Fail fast and improve.
Yeah.
What are there common pitfalls? Are there common mistakes that people make? And are they? Well, tell me what they are first, then I'll ask the follow up.
I think the two biggest ones we run into are forgetting that 70 to 90% of ideas aren't actually an improvement, without communicating that and getting buy-in, typically from above, where you'll get started and you'll be live and folks will say, great, now where's the lift? And you have to go through a few iterations. And that is the reality, unless you've never done it before, right? If you've never optimized your site in this way, it'll be easy pickings for a while. But once you've done even a little bit, most of the ideas won't be improvements. That's one. And two, not aligning around the org on what you're going to test, in particular with brand teams who will slap your hand for hurting the experience. Sometimes, in particular, if you're in a regulated industry, like pharma, You also need that alignment with legal teams to make sure that they're okay with what you're testing.
Yeah. Internal expectations.
Yeah.
Can you share with us a common use case? Give us that case study. And I don't want an outlier. I want like a good use case that anyone listening can say, okay, I can see how I would use it.
A typical one is Dermalogica. They're a global skincare company, and they started working with us in the US and then expanded globally as things were working. They've tried hundreds of variations over time, not today, but like, oh, we'll have 3 ideas today, 2 ideas tomorrow. By using that using AI optimized to personalize the experience off of the same set of ideas, they were able to double their subscription add to bag, and their subscriptions are worth a lot more to them than the one-off purchases. They then said, oh, you know what? The Amazons of the world are really enticing people with convenience. We want to try new shipping options on our product pages to get people maybe to select next day delivery more. They'll feel the convenience for us. They drove a 19% lift in clicks to checkout with next day delivery. And with those insights, they were mature. They said, hey, this adjusts our operations. The CEO publicly said, hey, this transformed the way we do business and really helped them make a lot more money with the same team. And they're not alone. To your point, the average customer optimizes their site 25 times faster than they would before with A/B testing. And one of the ones that got me was with no extra content, how many versions of a site do you think most companies have today? I presume you'd say 1. That's what I would have said. Our average customer is personalizing across 78 million versions of their site without adding a single headcount or creating new content or taking any more time from their marketing team, because you can try them in parallel and try all the possible combinations. So same team, same creativity, same hours, make more money.
Did you say 78 million variations?
Million. There's some with billions who are getting, I won't name the company, but billions of versions of their site with like, 10,000 page views a month. Finding winners and getting lift. 78 million is the average, yes.
Okay. So whoever's listening, their head's probably like, how do I manage 78 million? Like that seems overwhelming for someone who's managing 1, maybe 2 right now. How do you take them mentally from 2 to 78 million?
The joy is you never have to think about 78 million. To go back to our earlier example, let's say I've got my hero on my homepage and I come up with 5 different headlines, 5 different hero images, and 5 different calls to action. I've created 15 things, but the machine learning is optimizing across 125 different things. And so when you say 78 million, they're probably managing across a few tens of things. But when you multiply out all the possible combinations of them, you get this huge variety that allows us to meet Sean and Guy where each one of them is in their experience. So you think about a few tens of things that you came up with, you don't ever have to think about the 78 million.
Let's wrap it there. I know this is a lot of information, so hopefully our listeners will take it all in and learn more about Intellimize after the show. But best of luck with the ongoing integration with Webflow and the growth of the business. This has been a lot of fun. So thank you for being inside the Matrix. You have a great time.
Tom, it was great to be with you again. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Guy. Appreciate it.
This episode of the MarTech Matrix was brought to you by the Cogent Collective, a community of marketing and e-commerce leaders. Learn more at cogentcollective.com. For show notes and information on upcoming episodes, head on over to the martechmatrix.com. If you would like to learn more about the companies appearing on this podcast and see if they're a good fit for your company, send Sean a note at sean@cogentcollective.com. New episodes of the MarTech Matrix podcast will drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe with your favorite podcast network so you can stay on top of what's happening in the Matrix.